G'day reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Thanks for watching Gallery Aquatica TV. So we're continuing our series on epic tanks and why they work. And so today we're looking at one of the most epic tanks that we've ever worked on. It's the longest tank on our client list. It has a spectacular filtration system and it's a beautiful reef tank with lots of fish and corals to look at. This tank is so big that it was shipped from America in a shipping container to Australia. It was set up in mid-2017 and so it's upstairs and let's go check it out. So let's have a look at the livestock we have in this tank. First of all, we've aimed to have large of everything. So we've got large bubble corals, large gonny, large clam, and best of all, we've got a couple of massive leather corals. So you can see the one at the back here, it's not quite open at the moment. And this huge leather coral. It looks incredible, and given the size of this tank, it really fills up the space and looks really good. So we also have some big hammer corals, big giardini. We've got some nice big patches of turtle grass. So all the corals and invertebrates doing really well in this tank. The fish, we've aimed specifically for fish which would be out and about. So as you can see, we've got tangs and chromis, we've got zebra gobies. Really the aim is to always have fish out and about to fill up such a big tank like this. Looks really good. So now let's just take a moment to have a look at the specs of this tank. This tank is 12 feet long. It's 3 feet wide and 3 feet high. That makes it almost 3,000 litres. It's a massive tank. So we'll have a look at some of the components that are running on this system. First of all, we'll look at the lighting. So it's just up here. So the lighting system consists of 14 Hydra 26s. Now, most people would think of going for the larger Hydra 52s. However, the reason why we've done it this way is to maximize the spread over this big tank. And as you can see, the corals are loving it. So the lighting system is really doing the job we want. The next thing you might notice about this tank is that there are no wave makers. So how are we creating flow in such a big tank? Well, the secret is underneath the tank. Let's have a look. You can see we have this large pump on the floor underneath the tank, and it is running a closed loop circuit. So water is feeding from the tank into the pump and feeding back up into the tank at a number of points. So this gives us really good flow and is doing the job great for all the corals. There's no dead spots at all in this tank. The flow is excellent. Something else interesting about this tank. As you can see, there's no filtration system under the tank. So how have we got this tank filtered? So the key is these pipes that go down through the bottom of the tank are feeding down water through the floor. And exactly where that goes to is what we're going to look at next. So this is where the water comes down to. It drains through the floor into these big biological filtration containers. We have biological media in here. In fact, it's a wet-dry trickle filter media. All the water goes through there and the wastes are broken down by the large amount of bacteria, and then the water flows into the sump. So it's an 8-foot sump, it's a huge sump, and from the sump, the water then splits off to a number of components. So let's have a look at that. Over here, we have the return pump. And from the return pump, water splits off to, first of all, the UV sterilizer, that's up here. Now this is 3 120 watt UV sterilizers. So 360 watts of UV sterilization, keeping the fish free from parasites such as white spot and velvet. From the UV sterilizer, the water flows into a heater, through the heater, and then back into the sump. So the second direction that the water comes from the return is up into the refugium. And the refugium, we've got ketomorpha, which absorbs waste such as nitrate and phosphate from the water, and it's powered by a light which is specifically for the growth of macroalgae. And as you can see, it's a very red heavy spectrum, which gives us the fastest growth to absorb the most nutrients out of the system. So the third direction that the water comes from the return is into the chiller. So as you can see, it's an open chiller. So the reason why it's open and not enclosed like your standard small chillers is so that it's more ventilated. It's such a large chiller and it puts out so much hot air that it's important for it to be well ventilated, which is why we have the exhaust directly above, exhausting the hot air out of the room. And from the chiller, the water is pumped straight back up to the tank. So we also have a number of components which are fed from the sump and then feed back into the sump. The first is the skimmer. Let's have a look. So we've got a massive octo skimmer. It has 2 pumps. The first pump is in the sump and it pumps water from the sump along this line into the body of the skimmer. The second pump on this skimmer is a dedicated circulation pump. And so this pump circulates water within the body of the skimmer, and air is drawn in through this line, creating this beautifully fine bubble that you can see accumulating as waste in the cup. And with this skimmer, we're able to drain the cup by opening up this valve, putting a bucket under it, and it creates a lot of waste. It's doing a great job. Another component that's running off the sump is our calcium reactor. CO2 feeds into the calcium reactor, creating a low pH water in the chambers, and that low pH water dissolves the media, which releases calcium, carbonates and magnesium, which is then fed back into the sump. So instead of a dosing pump, because of the size of the system, we're using a calcium reactor and it's doing a really good job. So we have a little fridge in which we keep amino acids and vitamins, and so we've got our full dosing system set up within this filter room. So we also need to top up with fresh water to compensate for the water that we lose through evaporation. Now, to do this, we have a deionisation system. water is fed from the tap into these canisters, which are packed full of deionization resin. And so we turn on the tap and we just feed straight into the sump using this hose, and this allows us to top up the sump with very pure water, which is free from the contaminants that are typically found in town water. We also have a system for water changing this tank. When we drain water from the tank upstairs, we're able to top back up again into the sump using natural seawater that we fill into these containers, which is pumped through the pump directly into the sump. So it makes water changing very, very easy. So another thing that we have set up in this dedicated filter room is we have everything that we need to maintain the tank in the case of an emergency. And so if we have a problem whereby the pump stops or the temperature raises, we've got contingencies. We have got spare pumps. This is a spare return pump. We've also got a spare pump for the closed loop circuit upstairs. But most importantly, what we've got running is a system to alert us to any problems that might be happening with the tank. So this Apex system is monitoring parameters such as the temperature, the pH, the redox potential, and so we're able to remotely monitor this tank and very quickly react if we see any problems at all. And so everything here is set up to really minimize the risk to such a beautiful tank that we have upstairs. So that's everything for the filter room. I think we should go back upstairs and check out the tank again. So one of the incredible things about this tank was that it was actually installed by an American company called Okeanos out of New York. And as you can see, they create absolutely beautiful tanks, and everything here was brought in a shipping container, and the entire system was set up in the space of 2 weeks. So really incredible. And so we'll put a link to their details in the description, so check them out. They're an incredible company. So thanks for watching Gallery Aquatica TV and today's episode of Epic Tanks and Why They Work. We've really enjoyed bringing these tanks to you, and don't forget to hit the like button and to share. Really appreciate all your comments, and so thanks again for watching. This is Gallery Aquatica TV. So that's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well. We'll be putting out videos every week showing a new tank with new products. There's going to be lots in all the videos. I'm Cam the Fish Guy, and keep on reefing.